as a way to take attendance, we'll check our quorum by having Liz call the roll. Liz?
Right. Atlas Ingebretson. Atlas Ingebretson. Barber.
Here.
Chambliss.
Here.
Cummings.
Here.
Fredson.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Lee.
Here.
Lilligren.
Here.
Lindstrom.
Here.
Musset.
Here.
Sterner. Bento.
Here.
Wolf.
Here.
Zurin.
Present.
And Chair Zelli.
I'm here. And now to the approval of the minutes. I'm sorry, the agenda. Oh, got to read that where I am next. And we don't need a roll call vote unless somebody has any objection. I will consider the agenda approved. On to the minutes. So this is the minutes from the meeting September 9th, 2020. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Vento moves approval of the minutes.
Thank you, Sue. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion, corrections, comments? All right, hearing none. Liz, you can call the roll.
Councilmember Atlas Ingebretson. Barber.
Aye.
Chambliss.
Aye.
Cummings.
Aye.
Fredson.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Lilligren.
Aye.
Lindstrom.
Aye.
Musset.
Aye.
Sterner. Bento.
Aye.
Wolf.
Aye.
Zurin.
Aye.
And Chair Zelli.
Aye. The minutes are approved. Now, at this point in the meeting, we have not had public comment due to the virtual nature of this kind of form of meetings. But we're making an exception this time, and we're being visited by a member of the public, but somebody very familiar with us, Ryan Timlin, who wants to address the council and on matters that actually are not on the agenda. And I think our protocol is that Ryan will have 3 minutes, and we're here to listen, not to exchange or comment. And we are happy to invite Ryan to speak. Welcome, Ryan. I think I see you're here. Go ahead.
Yes, I am. Thank you, Mr. Zelli. I wish I was here on a bit of better circumstances, but this is where we're at. I just want to say local 1005 members have been risking their lives keeping service running during the COVID-19 pandemic. We have paid our fair share for the system in taxes, labor, sweat, and blood. Metro Transit has responded to our sacrifices with disrespect. There's no greater disrespect than their refusal to negotiate and insist on hiding out. That is why I'm here today to announce that as I'm speaking, the tallies are being totaled of our vote, and right now it looks like we're going to have a historic, in recent memory, a historic turnout for no vote, along with a strike authorization. Wes Kustra could solve this today by agreeing to full negotiations, but he has gone missing. The Metropolitan Council has a responsibility to compel West to show up and bargain. Until they show up, we will bring the bargaining table to them, first in the locations and then in their districts. Thank you for listening to me, and I hope you all have a good evening.
Okay, thanks, Ryan. Now that brings us on to our next business agenda, and that is a report, joint reports from the, I'm sorry, I got out of line here. I believe we are, yes, we are on the joint report of Management, Community Development, Environment, and Transportation Committees. I believe that Council Member Johnson will lead us through that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In Chair Ferguson's absence of the Management Committee, I'm happy to step in and give this unified budget amendment overview on behalf of the committees that have reviewed this. This amendment incorporates changes into the 2020 operating and capital budget reviewed and approved by the Transportation Committee on September 14th, the Community Development Committee on September 21st, and the Management Committee this afternoon, September 23rd. The operating budget amendment proposes an increase of $4.5 million in expenses in regional administration, community development, and transportation. These expenses will be funded with additional revenue of $4.5 million. First, there is an increase of $361,000 in regional administration and state revenues to support the staff expenses incurred supporting the Department of Health's efforts to combat the pandemic, and to reimburse the council for expenses incurred for the maintenance and evacuation of the homeless encampment on council property in Minneapolis. Second, there is an increase in federal reserves, or excuse me, federal revenues of $4.13 million for community development for the HRA pass-through program and the division operations, and expenses are increased by that same amount. There's also a transfer of $500,000 being moved from the operating to the HRA capital budget. And third, Metropolitan Transportation Services is bringing in $2.47 million in Federal CARES Act revenue to TransitLink and reducing MVest and fare revenue by an equal amount to account for reductions related to the pandemic. Lastly, they are moving $75,000 in MVest from the contracted services operating budget to the capital budget, and moving $75,000 in federal revenues from the capital to the operating budget. This amendment to the capital budget begins with an addition of $2.064 million to the Parks Capital Program, supported by $664,000 in bonding and $1.4 million in interest earnings. Additionally, 31 parks projects are completed and closed out. In the transportation capital budget, 8 projects are completed and closed out. The amendment also adds or increases the authorization for 32 projects, most notably an increase of $7 million for the Minneapolis Bus Garage and $5 million for the Gold Line BRT. Overall, the Transportation Authorized Capital Program, or ACP, is increased by $28.4 million. The motion is that the Metropolitan Council authorizes the 2020 unified budget as indicated and in accordance with the attached tables. And Mr. Chair, I would make that motion.
Thank you, Councilmember Johnson. Is there a second?
Second by Lee.
Thank you, Councilmember Lee. Any discussion? All right, Liz, call the roll.
Atlas Ingebretson,
Aye.
Barber,
Aye.
Chambliss,
Aye.
Cummings,
Aye.
Fredson,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Lilligren,
Aye.
Lindstrom,
Aye.
Musse,
Aye.
Sterner, Bento,
Aye.
Wolf,
Aye.
Zurin,
Aye.
Chair Zelli.
Aye. All right, the motion carried. Now on to the consent agenda. Can I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda?
Vento moves approval of the consent agenda.
Johnson seconds.
Thank you both. Any discussion? All right, hearing none. Liz, please call the roll.
Atlas Ingebretson.
Aye.
Barber,
Aye.
Chambliss,
Aye.
Cummings,
Aye.
Fredson,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Lilligren,
Aye.
Lindstrom,
Aye.
Musse,
Aye.
Bento,
Aye.
Wolf,
Aye.
Zurin,
Aye.
and Chair Zelli.
Aye. All right, that motion is carried. Now we're on to the hear from our standing committees. First is the report from Community Development. Councilmember Lilligren.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Community Development Committee brings one item for consideration today. It's business item 2020-240. It's a same week item. It's to adopt resolution number 2020-17. The U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, is offering up to $50 million for Housing Choice Voucher Mobility Demonstration Program. The Council's HRA intends to submit a funding application to HUD. The application will be submitted in partnership with Minnesota Public Housing Authority. The primary purposes for the demonstration are to provide voucher assistance and mobility-related services to families with children to allow them to move to lower poverty areas, also to expand their access to opportunity areas, and to evaluate the effectiveness of the strategies pursued under this demonstration. HUD expects to make funding decision awards to 5 to 10 agencies in December of this year, with grant amounts between $4 million and $10 million. This is really an exciting opportunity for the Council's HRA to receive grant funds to be used to support voucher families in mobility, and I would add a great way of strengthening our partnership with the Minneapolis Public Housing Authority. This is a same week item in order to pass this resolution in time for staff to submit the application by the deadline. Mr. Chair, I move that the Metropolitan Council adopt resolution number 2020-17, affirming and asserting its interest in participating in the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development Housing Choice Voucher Mobility Demonstration Program, on the willingness to comply with all applicable requirements, the evaluation and the reporting requirements, and to authorize the Director of the Metropolitan Housing and Redevelopment Authority to sign and submit the funding application for the Mobility Demonstration Program.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second by Chambliss.
Thank you, Councilmember Chambliss. Any discussion? I have to say, after hearing about this and hearing more about it, it really is exciting, innovative, and I really think we have a pretty good shot at getting this grant, and I hope we do, because I think it's something we can talk about that is more than just housing. This is, shows how there's so much more involved. I think it hits everything that we as a Met Council have been standing for. So, no more discussion. Liz? Please call the roll.
Atlas Ingebretson,
Aye.
Barber,
Aye.
Chambliss,
Aye.
Cummings,
Aye.
Fredson,
Aye.
Johnson,
Enthusiastic aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Lilligren,
Aye.
Lindstrom,
Aye.
Musset,
Aye.
Sterner, Sterner, Vento,
Aye.
Wolf,
Aye.
Zurin,
Aye.
and Chair Zelli.
Aye. That motion carried. So there are no reports from the Environment Committee. Management Committee has reports on the consent agenda. Transportation Committee has reports on the consent agenda. But next up is a joint report of Environment and Community Development Committees. And once again, Councilmember Lilligren.
Thanks again, Mr. Chair. The following two business items are comprehensive plans for communities connected to the regional wastewater system. They were all heard in the Community Development and Environment Committees. For both communities, Council staff found that the 2040 plans conform to regional systems plans, are consistent with Council policies, and are compatible with the plans of adjacent and affected jurisdictions. The first is business item 2020-229. It's to authorize the 2040 comprehensive plan for South St. Paul and approve their comprehensive sewer plan. Mr. Chair, I move that the Metropolitan Council adopt the attached advisory comments and review record and take the following actions. The recommendations from the Community Development Committee are to authorize the City of South St. Paul to place its 2040 comprehensive plan into effect, to revise the city's forecast downward as shown in Table 1 of the attached review record, to revise the city's 2021 to 2030 affordable housing need allocation to 57 units, and to advise the city to provide the council with the date that they adopted their final surface water management plan. Within 60 days after receiving the DNR final approval, the city must adopt the Mississippi River Critical Corridor Plan and submit a copy of the final adopted plan and evidence of adoption to the DNR, to the council, and to the National Park Service. Implement the advisory comments in the review record for forecasts, land use, and water supply. The recommendation from the Environment Committee is to approve the City of South St. Paul's comprehensive sewer plan, and the city shall submit to the council a copy of the resolution that adopts the revisions to the Sewer System Ordinance Section 62, requiring the disconnection of clear water sources from the sanitary sewer system.
Second by Lee.
Thank you. Any discussion? All right, hearing none. Liz?
Atlas Ingebretson,
Aye.
Barber,
Aye.
Chambliss,
Aye.
Cummings,
Aye.
Fredson,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Lilligren,
Aye.
Lindstrom,
Aye.
Musset,
Aye.
Sterner, Vento,
Aye.
Wolf,
Aye.
Zurin,
Aye.
and Chair Zelli.
Aye. That motion carried. Back to you, Councilmember Lilligren.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The final business item, 2020-230, is to authorize the 2040 comprehensive plan and the comprehensive sewer plan for the City of Spring Park. Mr. Chair, I move that the Metropolitan Council adopt the attached advisory comments and review record and take the following actions from the Community Development Committee's recommendation to authorize the City of Spring Park to place its 2040 comprehensive plan into effect, and to advise the city, when available, to provide the council the date the city adopted the final local water management plan, as well as a copy of the final adopted plan. And also to implement the advisory comments in the review record for forecast and water supply. The recommendation from the Environment Committee is to approve the City of Spring Park's comprehensive sewer plan.
Is there a second?
Johnson seconds.
Thank you, Councilmember. Any discussion? All right, Liz, you know what to do.
Atlas Ingebretson,
Aye.
Barber,
Aye.
Chambliss,
Aye.
Cummings,
Aye.
Fredson,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Lilligren,
Aye.
Lindstrom,
Aye.
Musse,
Aye.
Sterner. Councilmember Sterner is on the call, but he's having audio issues, and he messaged me and he votes yes. Vento,
Aye.
Wolf,
Aye.
Zurin,
Aye.
and Chair Zelli.
Aye. That motion carried. And thank you for carrying the proxy for Councilmember Sterner. But I did see him in the chat that he is present but unable to talk. So that's great. Thank you. That motion carries. This is kind of a relatively short meeting, but a lot of important business items. That allows us just a little bit of time for some reports. And then maybe enjoy the fleeting, beautiful afternoon before it rains. I want to just note that and thank those that Molly and Mary Bogie and I have been visiting on these kind of extended chats with council members. I have to say we haven't really spoken with everybody yet. I think we have like 4 or 5 more, but I just have to say it's been really gratifying. I think we've learned a lot about what's working well, what we can do better. And so I just kind of want to thank you. And one of the themes that many that come out is how much we kind of miss each other and enjoy, the efficiency of these Zoom meetings, but or WebEx meetings. But it's not like being in the back room and having cookies and or afterwards. And so we've probably not going to have this world change in the near future, but we're kind of exploring some ways to get a better, even personal connection, because we know, frankly, it's sometimes the business, but also it's kind of personal trust and relationships that we're missing. So we're gonna think about some ideas of having some pre-meeting smaller rooms, virtual rooms, to have conversations before a meeting. We could even consider breakout rooms during the committee of the whole meetings to have more conversation about issues. But so we've got a few ideas in the works, but I appreciate everybody's good ideas and feedback, and be able to kind of talk it through. One idea, and I'm willing to act on this soon, is that in light of the fact that as much as I love buses and trains, it doesn't really lend itself to tours for us to come together because of the safety reasons. But we could have walks and even bike rides. So Jim Alexander has graciously offered, under strong lobbying by me, to offer some tours of the Southwest Light Rail or walking. So if anybody's interested in like a bike trip, could be a Saturday, it could be a late afternoon. We might do it, not huge groups. I see Raymond. Well, let me know, or let Mary know if you're interested. We'll come up with some times. Won't be just one time. I funnily enough, on a bike ride this weekend, I ran into a Minneapolis Public Works person who was doing just what I was doing, which was checking out the Glenwood Bridge, that was being built. And I looked over and was like, "Hey, you look familiar." And I realized some of the best way is actually taking a bike ride. So, and if there's a way for us to kind of, socially distant, but just physically kind of share a moment. It could be mornings too. So there you go. we'll maybe have a variety of different times. Jim didn't know what he really said. He had an exclamation point behind his response saying, absolutely, he'd be glad to. So I'm taking him at his word. And he's a big bike rider, so maybe that'll help. And it could be walking too. Frankly, it doesn't have to be just on a bike. We can have maybe sections. But I think we need to be more innovative in how we can, at least now while there's some, warm weather, let's take advantage of that and see if we can think of some reasons and opportunities to both learn and see each other. I think that one of the things that, and I think is another theme is how much we, in meetings, we talk about individual subjects, and they're always sometimes a delightful surprise, like these, like our HUD application. But in a way, we're kind of also missing the forest for the trees. How are we making progress on some of the major goals that this council identified? Frankly, before I was around, but I think they're great goals. And how are we doing? We know we've had the COVID, we know we've had issues that have kind of brought before us, but we really do stand by those goals. So Mary Bogie is working on developing a presentation for our Committee of the Whole on October 7th to reacquaint ourselves to those goals. And then we're going to think in the future about how do we measure progress against them. And one of the issues we'll be thinking about, just to start stimulating your thinking, is how we're going to allocate some discretionary funding in the 2021 budget to help advance those goals. So looking at Mary is looking shocked at me now, but she's looking forward to giving this presentation and it coming up. So kind of stay tuned for that. And I also wanted to report that in November, this is a funny confluence of events that we have both Veterans Day and Thanksgiving kind of hitting a couple of our council meetings. So we're going to have special council meetings in lieu of Committee of the Whole meetings. So just so you're thinking about the calendar, we're going to have 2 meetings in the month of November, on November 4th, November 18th. Those would be special council meetings, normally Committee of the Whole meetings. So just for your calendar. And we decided that the 4th will be exciting because it'll be the day after the election. So we'll have something or the day before. Anyway, we'll have something to talk about. But also, I think because there's travel and Thanksgiving and Veterans Day, we need to kind of make sure we have more time and then we're able to kind of conduct proper business in November. So I want to give you a heads up about that. The other thing I found really interesting in these 3-on-1 meetings is the amount that everybody is out we talk internally, but we're also out in the community, in your own districts, around appearing before city council meetings, chamber of commerce meetings, regional council, mayors meetings. And so I invite when we have time, like today, when we don't have a kind of big presentations, and I think it's harder because of our virtual world to have formal reports or just even conversation. But if anybody has reports or wants to share a story about what they've heard or what they've seen when they've been representing that council, because we are all ambassadors of the council. We think about what we're doing internally, but then we're representing the council externally. And I had the great honor of making occasional presentations. I just spoke at the St. Paul Realtors Association, and despite my technology failure, I was able to at least talk and answer questions. And the more you get questions about our comprehensive planning, about what do we think about housing, where do we stand on innovation, and it's struck me as how much interest there is from so many stakeholders as to what Met Council is doing, what we stand for. So, and I think it's kind of inspiring to hear from others. So, not necessarily today, but you think about the meetings that you've gone to representing Met Council. I think it's those are really something I think we'd all be interested in if you ever want or feel compelled to share them. So those are just my my thoughts for the day, and I know and I hope I'll have more thoughts in the future. But stay tuned. I think we're still in very stressful time. I think that whether it's a Supreme Court justice dying or events that happen on a weekly basis for all of us, there's so much that I think is grinding anxiety. And I think to acknowledge that that's where we're living, but we need to also celebrate and acknowledge our great progress. So, and I think that's always helpful. So as I call for reports, Peter Lindstrom's raising his hand. So Councilmember Lindstrom.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to report on something that we heard at yesterday's Environment Committee, and that is that each year an organization called the National Association of Clean Water Agencies gives out awards. They're called the Peak Performance Awards, and they're based on how many years in a row your wastewater treatment plant has been in compliance with the federal permits, the EPA permits. And we heard yesterday that 3 of our 9 plants have received the Gold Award. And this is if a wastewater treatment plant has been in compliance with their EPA permit for 3 years straight. And that's really hard to do. 3 years straight, day in, day out, be in compliance with those permits. 6 of our, the rest of our wastewater treatment plants, 6, have received the Platinum Award. And that is if they have been in compliance for 5 years straight. That's pretty darn impressive. There's only 152 facilities across the nation that have received the Platinum Award. And there's something like 16,000 wastewater treatment plants across the nation. So of the 16,000, only 152 have received Platinum, and 6 out of our 9 have achieved that award this year. That's impressive enough, but I also want to say that 2 of our plants are really at the cream of the crop. So you get this Platinum Award if you've been in compliance for 5 years, and it's really impressive if you've been in compliance, and there's really a very few number of wastewater treatment plants that have been in compliance for 20 plus years. We have the St. Croix Valley treatment plant has been in compliance for 28 years in a row, and the Hastings treatment plant has been in compliance for 29 years straight. That's almost unheard of. There's only two treatment plants in the nation, one in Iowa, Ames, Iowa, and Hanover, New Jersey, that have got us beat, or at least equal. One's 29 years or 30 years. One's, I think the record is 31 years in a row. So we got our eyes on them, definitely. And my message to them is things in your rearview mirror may be closer than they appear, New Jersey. But wow, it's just a great testimony to our environmental services staff that that day in, day out, they're able to get the job done and have clean water here in our region. So hats off to them.
Hey, thank you. Congratulations. I guess you do this, right? And I see Lisa Thompson's picture just started smiling more. I don't know how she did that. But congratulations. That's great. That says a lot. Oh, there she is. She is. There you go. Congratulations. It really
Chair,
is.
this is.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm on my phone. It's Councilmember Atlas Ingebretson. I'm sorry, it's not as easy to see.
No. Go ahead.
I just wanted to give a to say thank you to Councilmember Lindstrom for sharing that, and also to just say one of the pieces I love talking to people about is our environmental services team, and sharing information like that. It's something that people really don't understand about what the council does. But I also want to just say, when we get presentations about other aspects of managing the work, they just really shine. And so I wanted to see if the team was on the call to just say thank you. And it just really shows when you have passion for what you do and that you believe in what you're doing and the importance of it, how much that can really carry out into success in all kinds of aspects of your work. So thanks for allowing me to have something really interesting to share with folks that people really, and I also find that people really do care when they hear about it. So they're surprised and they value it. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for that comment. And honestly, we don't take it for granted. It's remarkable. The commitment, the public commitment, the service commitment does go noticed. And it's a great story. So anybody have any reports that they'd like to give or comments? Don't have to. Molly.
Unmute there. I was just going to throw out, first of all, I loved hearing that too, Peter. Thank you for that. That's great. But first of all, kudos to the staff who are dealing with all of the social things that we're dealing with COVID and unrest and all the challenges that our world is in right now. But they continue to go beyond the scope of day to day, which must be, 23 out of 24 hours a day of work, but then continue to be creative in like the HUD application and like the partnership with Excel and things like that, and finding ways to continue to explore new avenues for us. I think that's really exciting. And I agree with Peter and Chair Zelli, and these kinds of reports. Now, I only have 4 cities, and they have continued to meet virtually, and they always include me, which I appreciate. But we have so many things going on that make it really easy to talk about, and it is really amazing how often staff and elected officials and people that I interact with at these meetings say, I had no idea. Oh, the Met Council's doing that. So it's a wonderful opportunity to broaden everybody's idea about what the Met Council does. And we have so many things. I think a couple of the things that I have found, and not just with my cities, but with small other groups that I represent and that I am aware of and so forth, that are just eating up the information, is the expansion of the TAP program. Hugely popular. I've gotten so much feedback on that, and shooting that out in an email to somebody who's chairs a meeting of whatever group, and then they can share it with their group, and then the parks program. And where that one's been really fun to talk about is the video challenge. So inviting people who use our parks to do the video challenge. And everyone's interested in the fact that we're doing the police review, of course. And there are lots of questions about the Blue Ribbon Task Force. So there's so many things that are going on that just open the door for us to reach out and for others to get better insight into all that the council does. But the things like the awards, Peter, that is just really huge. And the other things that we're doing. So thanks for sharing that. And it's really fun because you get so much positive reinforcement for the work that we're doing and so many questions. It's amazing. And then the council is great. This is another thing that I want to mention. And the council is great about putting these things out on Facebook, Twitter, whatever. So I had one of my mayors get back to me and say, can you send me an announcement on Facebook and Twitter that I can then forward to all of my constituents? And it, I asked Hannah for it, and she had it back to me in an hour. And you can shoot that out, and it just spreads far and wide. So it's easy to do, and it's really fun to do, and it's really well received.
Great, thanks, Molly. Anybody else have any reports or thoughts? All right, Mary Bogey, do you have anything?
Mr. Chair, I don't have anything more to add. Thank you.
All right, just keep running a great staff. That's what we want. I have to say, Mary has really stepped up. Now only doing 3 jobs, whereas she was doing 5 for a while. No, seriously, these are with Meredith gone. It's really been great to see how our acting administrator really steps into the role, and we haven't seen anything fall through the cracks that we know of. And I don't know, the General Counsel, Anne, are you here?
Yes, I am, Chair. Thank you. I think perhaps the council has stopped doing victory laps on the full funding grant agreement, but I haven't. And I just wanted to take the opportunity to thank my staff for all the hard work that they've put in over the years. We have about 20,000 hours just from the Office of General Counsel into this project. And it was a big deal for us last week to execute it, and we continue to keep working on it. And I just wanted to take the opportunity to recognize them and also recognize our SPO staff and our council members who've worked so hard towards this goal. So just a little bit more of a victory lap. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you for mentioning that, Anne, because this goes way before our council to previous councils to a long decades of work, and that full funding agreement, which I remember at our last council meeting, we were saying let's hope it's that week, and it was Monday. So that was either a tremendous thing to celebrate, which we are, or it would have been a real problem. And so we're thrilled it's the former. All right, so thank you very much. Hopefully there's some, I'm watching carefully Riva and Robert, seeing if the rain has started, so it hasn't. So enjoy the day, and we look forward to seeing you in some meetings soon. Take care. Molly, stay alert tonight. Good luck, and we will see you all very soon. This meeting's adjourned. Thanks. Bye-bye.